What the fuck is wrong with Bette Midler?
Riding high on the west side, looking for a hood rat to play. Won't you come out and play? Won't you come out and play?
Martha Wash took a trip over to Honey Records in Oakland in late 1976 to audition for some gospel studio work. Honey was a small company run in a converted Safeway market by Harvey Fuqua, a former 50s doo-wop star with the mellow, slick moon glow. We know that Harvey Fuqua is an old player. He pretended like he was in love with the Etta James. She would shoot her dope, and if she had anything left over, she would buy Harvey Fuqua a little something, only for him to leave her, grab Marvin Gaye along the way, and head to Detroit so him and Marvin Gaye can woo the Gordy sisters. Ain't that a bag of beans? But he's the type of man that chased the dollar from a bitch. Fuqua had left Motown to go on his way, then spent several years at RCA, then went back out on his own again. He and Nancy Pitts, a former RCA artist developer who became his business partner and lover, we ain't surprised. I'm sure Nancy came up with the money because he old using ass ninja. That's what he do. He used the women. Were on the lookout for musicians in the Bay Area, which they saw as virgin territory. They were starting, Fuqua said, back at square one. Honey would produce and develop the artist, and their neighbor, Fantasy Records, would help promote and distribute the album. At her audition, Martha mentioned to the Honey Records duo that she was singing with a guy named Sylvester, and that maybe they'd want to come to a show. So you mean to tell me it was Martha Wash who opened the door for Sylvester? I mean, Sylvester had always been standing in front of the door. Always. But it was Martha Wash who grabbed the knob and opened it. It took Nancy a few weeks to coax Harvey to the Elephant Walk in the Castro, where Sylvester was again performing, now with the 2 tons. What I saw on stage were 2 big women, looked like they must have weighed a ton each. Great gospel singing, gorgeous hunks of women, Harvey Fuqua said a couple of years later. And I saw an all-white backing group, and they were dynamite. I said, hey, they got rhythm too. And I saw Sylvester, an extravaganza of immense talent, and the people were going crazy. I'm standing there in a suit and everything, and I'm getting destroyed. I said, wow, that's it. Whatever we're doing, close it down as soon as possible. I want to work specifically on this man here. There's only 2 people in the business that I've worked with who have really got it. Marvin Gaye and Sylvester. Sylvester signed with Honey and Fantasy. Fuqua would produce and Pitts would be his manager. Sylvester's first album on Fantasy came out in the middle of 1977. The original cover showed Sylvester in a dark suit seated against a black and white striped background with subtle but visible eyeliner, rouge, and lipstick. Finding that stores in the South would not stock such an album, even Billboard's review began by asserting that the androgynous cover art is startling. Fantasy executives had the art department reshoot the photo. In the new one, Sylvester stood in a white suit and red framed tinted sunglasses in front of white octagonal tile, holding a rose. If he was wearing lipstick, it was not visible. Pause. This is some bullshit. I know I be in front of y'all looking a mess, but y'all know I be trying to get shit done. But this is some bullshit. You got David Bowie ass around there wearing skirts and makeup and mullets and jewelries and furs and all kinds of girly shit. And you gonna tell me Sylvester can't just put on rouge? Lo and behold, Sylvester said in October 1977, everything I'd been looking and working for did come. Over and Over was a major hit in Europe and Mexico and a minor one in the United States. I don't know when I'll get excited, Sylvester said. The crowds got bigger and the jobs got better. He and the gals opened for the average white band in Berkeley. Oh my God, it was something about that white man falsetto. Woo! They went down to San Diego to play at a gay club called the Ball Express, where the air was so foggy with sweat, smoke, and amyl nitrate that when they looked out, what the fuck is amyl nitrate? And that when they looked out at the crowd, they saw a bucket of wet, breathing flesh. Ugh. The band got headaches from the poppers and smoke. Y'all, let me tell you a quick story about poppers. So one day, one of my Judies had found something in one of her dude's bags, right? She said, Nene, what the fuck is this? What is this little bottle of fingernail polish? Is he doing his nails? I was like, fingernail polish? What? She was like, Nay, it say poppers or something like that on the bottle. I said, girl, let's Google it. Bing, 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 bing. Ciao. Poppers is something that is associated with gay men, that when you get into the good part, you know, when you get into the good part, you take it and you inhale it, and it's supposed to basically it's a huffer. Speaking of a huffer, one of my boyfriends was like, why is this dude in line with all this keyboard cleaner? It was like an aerosol or something. I said, oh, baby, he about to take that home and huff that. He was like, what? I said, that's what they do, baby. He's a huffer. So the poppers, which would be, I couldn't be around there because I get migraines. I'm not about to go in no place and be smelling, what do you call it? Acetone, because that's what it smelled like, acetone. And I know you like, Nay, how do you know? Because I Googled this shit, okay? I Googled it, all right? And I know when I'm doing my fingernail polish, when I'm taking the polish off my nails, I don't want to smell that shit. But that's what them huffer poppers be doing. The band got headaches from the poppers and smoke, but Sylvester didn't much mind. Yeah, because he be doing that LSD, okay? That's how Sylvester gets down. That's what he do. The man got headaches from the poppers and smoke, but Sylvester didn't much mind. I always encourage people to smoke at my shows, he said, so that the lights will do little fuzzy things, because it creates a softness for me on the stage. With help from Fantasy, Fuqua, and Pitts arranged a tour. Oddly, Louisiana and Mexico City. On the first night in Mexico, the 2,000-seat theater was half full with a giddy, adoring crowd. The next night, though, only about 100 people showed. Have y'all ever seen janky promoters? So, because I don't know how to call it, but you got to promote a show. They didn't have the internet then. But you got to promote a show. I don't care how you do it, what you do, you know, whether you go on the radio and talk to the people, whatever you need to do to promote this show so that you can get your money back, because you have to invest in the show. Each of the next 2 nights, Sylvester and the 2 Tons and the band played to dinkier and dinkier crowds with fewer and fewer instruments. They did the last show with a grand piano and a tambourine. Don't blame us, Harvey Fuqua and Nancy Pitts told the band, because the janky promoters, they flew. Free. They flew. They wasn't going to pay them people. That's what they do. It's trickery. I'm telling you, them promoters be pretending like they about to do a deal. That's why a lot of people want their money up front. Like what's her name? Aretha Franklin. Give me my cash up front. Now, she paid for it later on when the taxes came around, but give me my money up front. Just like how the hoes do it. That's how you had to do it. I'm not saying you didn't get paid. No, pay me first. The rift had already quickly grown between the management and the band. Dan Wright says the musicians felt that as time went on, Harvey and Nancy indulged Sylvester more and more and gave us less and less. The band members were not about to accept a verbal agreement from Harvey Fuqua and Nancy Pitts. A few nights later, back in San Francisco, Sylvester had a meeting at his apartment and summoned band members one by one into a room and shut the door. "We are not amused," Sylvester said to Reach, Reiner, and Dunton. That's the band. Those are the bands. Because the management was like, you got to get rid of the bands. You can't afford them. He kept on Tip Work and David Frazier. "The people you walked over on your way up," David Frazier reminded Sylvester, "you are going to see on your way down." Every Sunday in 1977 at around 5 o'clock, a stout, light-skinned black woman could be seen hailing a cab with her shoes in her hand on the corner of 18th and Castro in front of the Elephant Walk. That would have been Gianna. Gianna used to work as a hostess and cocktail waitress at a bar called Fanny's, just up from the Elephant Walk. Well, Sylvester and the Two Tons played on Sunday afternoon. "Back then, you couldn't get anyone to come out of the Castro," Sylvester said later. "So I figured if they won't come to me, I'd go to them." People would start showing up at the Elephant Walk early in the afternoon on Sundays. It was a madhouse. There was no stage, and the bar was so small and dark to begin with that going there was sort of like going to a show in a cave. On sunny Sundays, the Castro would already be overflowing with extra boys. If you wanted to actually see Sylvester and the Two Tons when they started playing at 3 o'clock, you need to get yourself a beer at 1 or 2. It would be like every square inch of the place was full. Every square inch, Gianna said. Latecomers would just stand out on the street. The windows at the Elephant Walk would open and the music would fly out. People, mostly white men in jeans and tank tops, with a few women and a few men of different colors sprinkled around, would fill up the sidewalk and the street, dancing, blocking traffic on 18th. You could just listen and dance from there. Gianna had her own seat, though. A spot that Sylvester always saved for her on the ledge about 5 feet from the stage. She would work Sunday brunch at Fanny's in high heels and hobble down as soon as she could to claim her spot at the Elephant Walk before it filled up. Her feet would be worn out from the heels, so she'd take off her shoes, set them beside her on the ledge, and watch the show while her feet swelled up. Sometimes before the show, Gianna would wander barefoot into the stockroom upstairs, which also served as Sylvester's dressing room and warm-up room. He'd be in there with the Two Tons. Usually, they'd warm up nice and happy with a gospel tune, a church song they all knew from childhood, to put them where they needed to be. Sometimes, instead, there would be drama between Sylvester and Martha. Now remember, Izora was the one that said that Sylvester was the true diva of the three. Baby, I would say it would be all three of them. Martha Walsh is actually a true diva herself. Have you niggas heard her sing? Oh my gosh. She's incredible, but I wouldn't doubt that those two would be at each other because they're both divas, super divas. Izora, she wouldn't claim diva because she's a Mother Earth. Californians were getting ready to vote on an initiative sponsored by State Senator John Briggs. You know what's crazy to me? That people actually tried to create laws to prevent people from being who they are. How the things that were illegal then is now illegal to do. You know, like back then, the laws prevented gays. Now the laws protect gays. It's crazy. But this is when the book talks about Harvey Milk. If y'all not familiar with Harvey Milk, he is the guy Sean Penn portrayed. He did a great Harvey Milk, considering that Sean Penn is such an asshole. He's such an asshole. That nigga got issues. He really do. He need to go talk to his mama. He need to find her and hug her. That's what need to happen. But, you know, God bless the Sean Penn. Harvey Milk and Sylvester created a relationship that would help to navigate new laws in the San Francisco area. Because how dare you? This is the gayest part of America in the world. And you ninjas trying to come around and make it illegal for a gay child to be supported? That's crazy to me. These people are crazy. That May, Sylvester sang at Harvey Milk's birthday party. In June, just before Sylvester's new album came out, Milk waved from a convertible in the largest ever Gay Freedom Day parade. Around 300,000 people spilled over the sidewalks and into the streets. Milk had encouraged a man named Gilbert Barker to create a flag for the gay and lesbian movement, and Baker had sewn together an 8-color rainbow flag. 2 by 60-foot flags flapped over United Nations Plaza in San Francisco. Sylvester wasn't one to turn down an invitation from Hollywood. In the spring of 1978, he was invited to audition for the rise and fall of troubled rock star biopic The Rose at Studio One, a disco in West Hollywood, on the recommendation of the star Bette Midler, the divine Miss M. Do y'all remember when the divine Miss M dressed up in a goddamn mermaid outfit and rode on stage in a fucking electric wheelchair? Unbeknownst to him, Sylvester said Midler had my records and she heard me sing before. The producers were looking to hire miscellaneous drag queens for a scene in which Rose, the boozy singer, played by Midler, who herself, of course, was only a few DNA strands away from a drag queen, goes back to a drag bar she used to frequent in the old days. They already had a Barbra Streisand in her Hello Gorgeous period drag queen, a Betty Davis as demented Baby Jane drag queen, a generic Mae West drag queen, and a frizzy redhead Midler as Rose drag queen. They wanted a Diana Ross too. Such an honor. To me, that's not what the book said, but that is such an honor. The other two candidates at Studio One that day were exact replicas of Ross, skinny and pretty, but the producers thought it would be hilarious to have a Diana who tipped the scales at around $220, so Sylvester was hired. In the movie, Rose enters the bar and encounters an old drag queen played by an old drag queen named the Queen Mary, who has a very tall hairdo. "Oh my God," says Rose, "your hair got a heart on." I'm going to watch that today. At the bar, the MC is the Betty Davis drag queen who welcomes Rose back by introducing the queen in Rose drag. The two Roses scream at the sight of each other, then scream a duet of Bob Saget's Fire Down Below about streetwalkers and Johns who have nothing in common but the fire down below. In the middle of it, Sylvester bursts through, the two of them in a red sequined sleeveless Supremes gown, grabs the mic from the faux Rose and sings along with the real one. Shortly, May and Barbara show up and the faux Rose joins back in, and the five of them dance and sing, falling all over each other like a bunch of well-coiffed coquettes. Sylvester's drag Diana towers over Rose, and for a while Sylvester dances behind Bette Midler, dipping her. It took several days that May to film the sequence, which was shot in an old nightclub in the basement of a seedy hotel in downtown LA. Sylvester said he enjoyed the fantasy of being in Hollywood making a film, but he would not make another movie, he said, unless I'm starring. I know that's right, you thing you. Bored with his own sound, Sylvester took himself to the Billboard Disco Forum in New York in mid-June.